And hello, everyone. I'm Gary Direnfeld. I'm a social worker in Canada. I've had a request from Jagdish through LinkedIn if I could offer any kind of service or guidance to him or information with respect to practice, I believe, here in Canada. And so on the basis of that, I said, sure, let's get together, but let's open it up. Maybe there's other people who have some questions. And it's not that I'm an expert on all of social work practice in Canada, but I can share my experience. And so that's what this is about today. Jagdish, I'm going to hand it to you right now.
Thank you very much, sir. Thanks for the small intro. Although I have a good research done on you and what all the things that you have done, so I'll be telling people later on. So yeah, so I am Jagdish Banga. I have done my master's in social work from Punjab University, Chandigarh, and currently I am preparing to get enrolled into PhD, either from India or abroad if the circumstances allow. And prior to that, I was working as a labor welfare officer right after my MSW was done. And yeah, but then shortly I found that probably uh, corporate is not my forte to work in, because I really want to be into public service, and that too, if possible, into public administration. So that is how I want to that is how I look my career as. So yeah, that's all about me. Now I would request Ambika to please give a small introduction. Thank you.
Hi everyone, I'm Amrita. I have done my Masters of Social Work from Punjab University itself, and I'm working as research assistant in Department of Higher Education, Haryana, and this is the contract basis job. But in future, I look forward to work in abroad in some specific field which is related to women and child, or related to health, because I have worked a lot on this sector, and that is why I'm looking forward for it. Thank you. Now I would like to I would like to hand over to Jaskirat to give a small intro.
Okay, thank you, Lee. So my name is Jaskirat. I am pursuing my master's in social work from Punjab University itself. First of all, thanks to Jagdish Bhaiya who arranged all this. Then I'm currently working with an organization, namely Open Eyes Foundation, who is currently working at the field level. Because during the COVID circumstances, we are not getting any kind of field experience right now. So the Open Eyes is the foundation who is working with the children migrant laborers. So I'm working with them and looking forward for more experiences in the field. That's it. Thank you.
I would request Yashika, if she's available, to please give a small introduction. Yashika, are you there?
Hi, my name is Yashika. I am currently pursuing my master's in social work from Punjab University and working with the Child Protection Unit. And in that we do labor drives and everything, and also working with Prasancheta's Foundation and taking MHM trainings with them. That's
Okay.
it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Yashika. I'm sorry for taking your name in a wrong way. So next I would request Shoydon to please give a small introduction.
Hello everyone. I'm so sorry that I'm outside that so noisy place. So my name is Sheridan and I'm from Tibet. Right now I'm in Chandigarh just for fresh up here. I just done my internship at Women Empowerment Desk at Tibetan Exile Office. So right now I'm free. Thank you for listening.
Okay, there's a bit of network issue, so that's okay. By the way, if I may, sir, tell about Shoidon, that she's a Tibetan, and currently she lives in Dharamshala, which is a very beautiful city in Himachal Pradesh in India. And she was also my batchmate, and she passed out. And currently, she was working with a very great NGO who are working exceptionally well for the Tibetan refugees here in India. And she was doing her internship in the field of menstrual hygiene management as well, and she's very passionate about women empowerment. So yeah, that is what in the crux she was trying to tell.
Thank you.
So yeah, so next I would request Anant, Mr. Anant, who is our super senior, to please give a small introduction. Mr. Anant.
Okay. I'm audible.
Yes, you're pretty
Yes.
much audible.
Okay. Good evening to all, respected sir. My name is Anant. I'm audible.
Yes, pretty much
Okay.
audible.
Okay. My name is Anant. I'm from Punjab and doing my MPhil in psychiatric social work from Government Medical College and Hospital Sector 32. And I'm interested to work in Canada, abroad cities, and I have not much experience. So
Uh, Okay, let sir Gary sir, let me add a few things. He's lying at this plate that he doesn't have experience. In fact, since he's our super senior, and he's actually one of the driving forces of our department because he's very passionate about giving I mean special assistance to people with special needs, and especially the blind people. So he's very passionate about all those things. He has specially recorded books uh, 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 for the blind people to read and to memorize all those things. So he has been working very hard on the field level, and so yeah, he's pretty much experienced. So yeah, that's a short introduction about him.
Thank you.
Uh, are we left with anyone? Anand, Ambika, Jaskirat, Yashika. Okay, so I believe all of us are done with the introductions.
So Jagdish, again, I'm going to come
Sir.
back to you. You
Sir.
got in touch with me hoping to learn something. I'm curious, and we have until about, well, 10:30 my time, which is 8 o'clock-ish, 8:15 your time. I do
Yes,
have
sir.
someone in 2 hours. So
Okay, sir.
my question to you is, what is it you're hoping to learn from me? How can I be helpful to you? What do you want to get out of this meeting? What are your wants
Okay.
from this?
Sir, since you have 37 plus years of experience in the social work field, especially in the North America region, so we as social workers, or who are actually hoping to become social workers, we are not even ones. So we are very curious to know that what all is the sphere of social work in your region as far as it's concerned to different fields, because even we read about all those spheres here in India, but then it's pretty much different. So firstly, we want to understand about those spheres. Secondly, what all special skills are required to be a social worker, or to be good individuals, if not something else. And as global citizens, how can we represent world as a whole? And also adding to that, what all common dilemmas, ethical issues, and moral issues that you come across there in your region. And since many of us are even passionate to come and work there as social workers. So what all careers or courses can we look forward to, and what all can be the means? Could it be choosing a diploma, choosing an MSW again, or going for a PhD if MSW is already done? And adding to that, uh, what sort of documentation or prerequisite requirements are there to open an NGO, if at all it's needed? I don't know if it's called an NGO in your country, or it's called a charity. But here in India, we call an organization as NGO, which is non-government organization or non-profit organization. So I mean, this is just like these are the main issues that I really wanted to talk about, and I believe these are the ones that I have figured out. But if in case any of the other people in the conversation want to ask, they are free to ask anything. But since it's already 7:17, and so we have almost 42 minutes odd left, so we'll have to keep it in that very time frame, because Gary sir has some other uh, works to do as well. So yeah, so that's what I'm hoping. Thank you very much, sir.
Thanks, Jagdish. Let me just open it up for a moment before I start talking about the issues that you've expressed.
So
Does anyone else have any other issue or question that they wanted to pose so that I can hopefully fit that in as well? Or did Jagdish cover it all? Okay, then. Jagdish, good job. You were
thank you, sir.
quite broad in terms of your request, in terms of understanding social work here, perhaps in the Canadian or North American context. So let me just get my thoughts together. Let me start by saying that there's only ever one reason any of us became a social worker or aspire to be a social worker. And that is because we feel a calling to be of service to others. That's it. And
Yes.
We act in service to others really according to our own interest. So that can take us to education. It can actually take us to politics. It can take us to healthcare. It can take us to what we call special populations, persons in need. It could be developmental issues. It could be child welfare. It could be maternal health. It could, whatever our special interest is. And for some folks, those special interests are an outcome of their own life experience, seeking to help others who may be facing some challenges that a person themselves seeking to be a social worker have faced in their own lives. So we're all connected. We're all connected as social workers, wanting to do well by others, wanting to improve the lives of others. So I commend you for that, and I just wanted to acknowledge that it doesn't matter if you're in India or Canada. That's what draws us together, and that is what binds us as a group. With what I have just said, it speaks to one of the issues you kind of rose, Jagdish, and that is the span of practice of a social worker. And in my experience, and I'm not from India, I haven't been to India, but I have spoken with many folks from India here, and of course there, as we are doing this morning. The span of practice is virtually the same. We can serve people in any walk of life with any problem. And so I would think, similar to India, here in Canada, we have services that span the across all human needs. So whatever your interest may be where you are, there is bound to be something similar here. So just to let you know that should you ever choose to work abroad, should you choose to come to Canada, there's a good likelihood that your interest will be shared amongst others here too. So it's not like you have to come here and then change everything that you do. Okay, you can look for your interest here as well. The other question you asked, in terms of career, what is the level of education that might be helpful to achieve the career one wants? So you talked about the difference between a diploma, a bachelor's of social work, a master of social work, and a PhD in social work. And those are very good distinctions. So depending on one's level of education, it will have an impact on the jobs that are available and the level of independence one enjoys in one's occupation. So what do I mean by the level of independence? If you have a diploma or what we would call a college degree as well here in Canada, odds are it's going to be in something called, we would likely call you a social service worker versus a social worker. And the social service worker is almost always going to be an employee of a government or a social service agency whose funding flows from the government or other community resources. And that worker is likely there to help connect people with benefits to address whatever the need is. So that, you know, social service worker, typically an outcome of a diploma or a college degree as opposed to a university degree. We make that distinction here in Canada. A BSW, a Bachelor of Social Work, you will have more responsibility. You will could be in counseling roles, hospital medical roles, other social service agencies, where it's not that you're connecting the person just with a particular benefit, you're going to aid in some sort of problem solving with that individual. You may be linking them to other services, so it may have more of a case management function. By the time you have a master's of social work, you are working, somebody else either reconnected or rejoined. Give me a second. Ashika may have fallen out and I've just let her back in, sorry. So with the MSW, you are likely working with more complex issues, more complex problems. You're more likely to be hired in other agencies such as child protection or child welfare agencies. Again, you know, hospital medical, other social service agencies. You are in that role, you'll have more autonomy in the carrying out of your job. There'll be more flexibility and more of an emphasis on your ability to problem solve, think through an issue, and address the needs of that client in whatever the setting will be, as opposed to you following through with the dictates of the agency with less autonomy from that perspective. A PhD, that's really an academic degree. And where that becomes more important is less in service delivery at whatever level, and more for working in an academic setting, typically. So we don't have many PhDs in direct service, you know, at whatever level that I've already described, but they tend to have employment in colleges, in universities, where more professorial. They may have more influence in governmental agencies or politics at higher levels. They may be more involved from a research perspective. So the PhD brings a different kind of practice to the individual. So hopefully my touching on some of these differences helps address where you are. I must say that in Canada, the most job opportunities from my perspective, with likely the greatest job satisfaction, is at the MSW level. There's almost always jobs available for Masters of Social Work. Now, when I say there's almost always jobs available, it may not be in your chosen interest at that particular time. It may not match that, but odds are there's a job available. There's almost always jobs available in child welfare or child protection, just to let you know that. In terms of other requirements for practice, there's always the issue of academic equivalency. Does a
Yes, that's a very important point.
MSW in India, is it recognized here in Canada? Canada is organized into 10 provinces and 3 territories, each with its own regional government. So yes, we have the federal government, but then we have these individual governments for these different areas. And I think that's much the same in the way India.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We have states over here.
Okay.
It's more or less same.
Okay. So
Yes.
every region or every state or every province or every territory here in Canada has its own rules and regulations for what constitutes a social worker, who can call themselves a social worker. It is what we call a protected term. Not everyone can call themselves a social worker. You actually have to be licensed or certified or registered, different words, same context, to call yourself and practice as a social worker. And while there is consistency across all of Canada, there are also regional differences. And so depending on where geographically you want to land and work in Canada, and you know, I haven't been to India, but I have to imagine each state, each region has a different composition, a different kind of political identity, a different, you know, set of circumstances that people may face there. So too across Canada, we're a vast country. Small population relative to India, we're around 37 million. That's small, but we're vast geographically. So wherever you want to practice geographically, you're going to have to go to the regulatory body for that geographic region, for that province, to figure out what are the requirements for equivalency for you to practice there. And I can't represent all of them. I barely can represent my own. I'm a member of the Ontario College of Registered Social Workers and Social Service Workers. But every province and territory will have their own rules set out. And you want to know what they are? Google, you know, social work in Canada, Google regulatory bodies for social work in Canada. And you will slowly, you know, you're all capable, you'll slowly find your way amongst them. And absolutely, you can get in touch with any of those organizations at any time to ask, what are the equivalencies? What is required of someone coming from this country versus that country in order to practice in your...
So it's basically country specific as well.
Yes.
Okay.
You asked about starting an NGO, a non-governmental agency, or a charity. I'm not the person to speak to that. I haven't done that. So I personally don't have that experience to bring to you today. Suffice it to say, it's not that it's impossible. You can. The issue is always one of funding.
Right.
Okay. So there are opportunities to start what we would call a registered charity here in Canada, that would likely be under the auspices of the government of Canada versus regional. I'm not 100% sure. Don't quote me. Do check into it.
Sure.
So you can check how to have a registered charity status. Clearly, there's going to have to be a reason for your being, a registered charity status. And then you're going to have to figure out how you are going to get the fundraising in order to facilitate that. The other thing that's available to people here or in India is private practice. You can come here and set up your own practice. For those who are interested in doing that, and I'm in private practice, people pay me directly to sit in front of me. And so I'm not a governmental agency. I don't work for a social service agency. I am fully 100% independent. I don't even bill to insurance companies. If you want to sit in front of me, you are paying me. Here is the invoice. You are welcome to seek reimbursement at your discretion. So, that remains an option as well. I was hoping that a couple of my Indian colleagues would have shown up today, but I know that they're also busy in their practices so that they could speak to private practice in India. So it's something you can do there. It is something that you can do here. No matter what our practice is, whether it's private practice, an NGO, agency-based, hospital-based, community agency-based, we're all ever only going to work with a certain segment of the population. And so I recognize that being in private practice, there are absolutely people who cannot afford to see me and won't afford to see me and won't be seeing me. It's a limitation of my practice. Now, having said that, I can also choose what I do in my own spare time. So in my own spare time, I may, from a volunteer perspective, reach out and do charitable work that may be of service to those who can't sit in front of me and pay. So I'm just sharing this so that you can expand your thinking about how you want to practice, where you want to practice. And from my point of view, all of that is acceptable.
Let me just add a few things, sir. For example, you mentioned that you work as a private practitioner and you are independent of any of the organizations for that matter. So in that respect, as far as working as a social worker in India is concerned, we either have, we usually have two routes or majorly three routes, if I may quote it that way. First one is to work with an NGO. I mean, work as a representative in an NGO, could be project manager, case manager, any of that sort. One. Two, we could start our own NGO if our funds and things allow, circumstances allow. And third could be to work with the government. For example, there are a few posts that are available at the district level or the state level or the province level or even at the center government's level to work as social workers, because even we have social service departments over here and social security officers are also there. So majorly we have these three routes, and to work as private practitioners I am not very sure, though my sphere of knowledge is very limited, but then I believe it's really tough to work as a private practitioner, because if we call private practitioner to work in India, so that would majorly revolve around a psychologist or a psychiatrist, and because they are the ones who can actually give the counseling and all, while we here as social workers or having done an MSW, are not really authorized to pursue psychiatric sort of setting work without doing an MPhil in psychiatry, which one of our seniors, Mr. Anant, is pursuing. So it's really hard to work as private practitioners over here, or to start off your own venture.
So here in private practice, as a social worker, and likely similar to what you're saying, I'm not allowed to diagnose. So
Okay.
I cannot provide a medical diagnosis. I cannot say you have this kind of personality disorder. I cannot diagnose you with depression or anxiety. But it's really interesting because I can still work in mental health and I can still treat people with all these conditions. So there's an interesting kind of dichotomy to that I can be entrusted with the mental health of someone, but not to make the diagnosis of that. So from that perspective, sometimes we do work closely with our psychology, psychiatry, and medical associates. If somebody needs medication, even though I'm not allowed to diagnose you with depression, I will say, you know what, you seem like you may be depressed here, right?
Okay.
And I want to encourage you to meet with your doctor, and I want to encourage you to ask your doctor about medication to see if that is suitable for you. So,
Okay.
So we can do that. We can provide the direct counseling. We do meet in private practice very regularly with persons whose relationships, and this is the purview of social work, relationships and behavior and relationships and feelings and behavior that arise out of a social context that are, troubling. So we can and do provide counseling, be it marital, be it family counseling, be it parental, how to best manage a child with, whatever the issues of the child are. We can facilitate and advocate for the needs of persons with respect to other institutions. So how are you going to get your child's needs met at school if the school doesn't understand what the child's needs are? I can help represent you and your child with the school and help you navigate that system. So I also personally do a lot of work with separating parents who are having difficulty sorting out the care of children and managing the care of children between them as separated parents. So
more like an arbitrator.
You can work as an arbitrator. You can, there's specialized training for that. But an arbitrator is someone who imposes a decision on people that they are bound to follow through in law. And I have had training in that, and I have done that. I got to tell you, I don't do that anymore because over my 30 years of practice, people have gotten nastier. If somebody doesn't like the outcome, if somebody doesn't like the outcome, what do? And it used to be that 30 years ago, people would still shake my hand, say thank you, and move on. Over the years, there's a greater likelihood that the arbitrator, the service provider, may be sued, may be complained against, may have terrible things written about them on the internet, may require, as in my case, I've required police protection from harassment when people didn't like the outcome. So I personally don't arbitrate anymore, but I still mediate, which is helping people to come together to have a discussion in a safe place. I coach people. How are you going to bring your best self to a context, to a situation, in order to resolve a problem? So again, these are some of the things that we can do in private practice, at least here in Canada.
Okay, thank you very much, sir, for clearing those points. Next question is regarding the medical field. For example, if a person wants to be a medical social worker, what his or her common sphere of work? What are the job roles of medical social workers?
If you think of any particular illness that requires hospitalization, odds are that there's a social worker specialized to facilitate the adjustment and or additional services required to live with that medical condition. So when you
Okay.
say what are the jobs, they in medical social work, it can be as varied as the conditions that are out there. Depending on the hospital, they may not be able to hire as many social workers as there are conditions treated. So the social worker in the hospital may be more of a generalist, that regardless of the medical condition, I can still facilitate your adjustment and or additional services that may be required for your care. Typically, we're seeing those roles played by someone with a master's of social work, because it takes that independence where people are problem solving according to the needs of the person presenting to them, as opposed to delivering the same thing to everyone.
Okay. Okay.
Is that helpful?
Well, I believe yes, to some extent. I believe everybody might have understood, because many of us are pretty much interested in the medical social work field as well, uh, including many other options that we have got. Sir, I specifically wanted to know about uh, the common sort of issues that you or anybody as social workers come across in your region, or if I may say, in your territory or province, if not any else.
Sure. Somebody else has just joined us, so welcome to that person. I don't know if they can hear us yet, but okay, so welcome. Thank you for joining us. So common issues that are faced by social workers: access to resources, sufficient resources. I don't care where you are in the world. Human problems outstrip services available to meet them.
Mhm.
And
Right.
Canada is a rich country, a very rich country. And even as rich as we are, there are still insufficient services to meet all the
Okay.
needs. So we have wait lists for everything. And so that is a common problem. And then it becomes an issue of how do you serve those on the wait list? There are, and I don't care what country you're in, there are difficult people whose personality variables preclude them, get in the way of making use of help that may be available to them. That's common amongst
Right.
social workers as well. I have a few areas of specialty. One of them happens to be working with difficult people.
Oh,
And
okay.
so, and it's not necessarily how do I work directly with the difficult person, but how do I help a loved one get along with this difficult person? How do I help this separated parent continue to co-parent in a context with a difficult person?
Okay.
But these are common issues as well. I happen to wind up consulting a lot to family law lawyers, as well as to parents in these situations and other people on how to work with someone with a difficult personality. So access to resources, insufficient resources, sometimes what we would call, difficult people. These are some of our common issues. And then we have what we call difficult to serve or hard to serve populations. And these are folks whose behaviors, for whatever reasons, can be challenging. Now that could be a child with autism who acts out behaviorally. That could be someone in the criminal justice system.
Okay.
So there are those populations of persons that we seek to serve where there can be difficulties therein as well. Does this address some of your question?
Yes, yeah, surely. It did help. My next topic that I want to discuss is want you to give your views on is how do you deal with people who are into substance abuse or who undergo mental who have mental challenges. So how do you deal, or what sort of things that are available or solutions are available?
Right. So, when we talk of substance abuse, the way you pose the question, there's a sense that it implies that those with substance abuse are a homogeneous group, that they're all the same. Okay. They're not.
Okay.
And I'm sure you actually know that. But there is tremendous variability when it comes to persons who are abusing substances, the nature and effect of the particular substance, the life path that brought this person to abusing the substances. So some will come from a trauma background. Some will come not from a trauma background, but a pain or a medical background that got them hooked on a particular substance. So for some, that substance may be alcohol, where there is a community social acceptance of alcohol as a substance. So, when it comes to services and treatment of, we have to understand the nature and effect and the cause. And because of that, the services available have to be thought of broadly as well. To that end, here in Canada, we have both private and public resources for those whose substance use is so great that they would go through withdrawal, or whose substance use is so great that unaided, unsupported, in a residential context, they may not be able to manage without the substance. So there are, like I said, private and public services. The problem is there's not enough public services, and the private services are very expensive. So there's some folks in the middle who won't be able to access either.
Yes.
So in terms of how we help, it's as varied as the nature and effect of the substance and the person and their context.
Okay, sir. What do social workers, as rehabilitators, what's their main job? For example.
That's a really interesting question. And I'm going to answer it quickly. When people ask me what I do as a social worker, all I say is I help people to get along, and I help people to feel better about themselves. That's it.
Yeah, right.
And
that's right.
And so within that context, it's as varied as the individual and their situation. But at the end of the day, it's about, getting along well enough that we can do so without problems, and feeling good about ourselves such that we can live with ourselves and others. And your friend, I think, Anand, works with folks who are visually impaired. And that can get in the way of working with others. That can get in the way of how we feel about each other. So when he offers audio books, that enables an accessibility, that enables the individual to have access to the same information that a fully sighted person has, that enables us to participate, that enables us to feel good about ourselves. So for me, it's not about the special population that we're serving. As social workers, we're all involved with helping people to get along and to feel good about themselves. And we do that by addressing those things that would stand in their way.
Okay, thank you, sir, for answering that. My next thing that I really want to ask you is there any sort of political or administrative pressure in Canada as far as social services or working with an NGO or charity is concerned. Because here in India, we do face a lot of issues in that respect. Could be from the
Great
smaller
question.
level to the.
Great question. And so as a social worker, I kind of have a big mouth politically.
Okay, that's good to know.
Because politics do influence our ability to be of service. Politics do influence the context in which people live. And therefore, you know, what they have access to, how they're going to survive, how they're going to get along. And so, yes, politics do influence our social context tremendously. As in the US, as in parts throughout Europe, maybe in India, the social context here these days in the year 2000s, there's been an increasing disparity between those who have a view that the individual needs to manage themselves almost in isolation versus we are social creatures with responsibility to one another. And we're seeing those forces play out throughout the world these days. And that's true here in Canada. So between conservative politics versus liberal politics. Three-ish years ago here in the province of Ontario, the result of an election, we shifted from a liberal left-leaning government to a conservative right-leaning government. We saw a restriction in social services. We saw a cutting back of services to children with autism in the school system and the community. We saw less services being available for women, for children, for persons of color. It's never framed that way, yet those are the social outcome of political policies.
Yeah,
and that has a trickle-down effect to the mental health and the social health of people, and it has an effect on funding of agencies and how much we can do and how many people we can reach. So yes, the government has a huge role in the health of the citizenry from a social and mental health perspective. And I love social workers who have big mouths, who speak to these issues. I have 17,000 followers on my Facebook page, Gary Direnfeld, MSW, RSW. Follow me on Facebook. I am frequently posting on political matters. And, it used to be that, people would find me and try and shut me down, try and diminish my voice from a political sense. And some would say, oh, I think you should only talk about parenting. Don't get into politics. Then you go to their Facebook pages and you see how conservative right leaning they are. And so they're telling me to only speak to parenting and don't delve into politics is a nefarious attempt to limit my voice. So, sometimes we wind up deleting people's comments. Sometimes we wind up blocking people's comments. But if you're going to have a voice, there will always be pushback. Always. And if you're going to be a social worker, you got to know that not everyone is going to like you. When you advocate for the needs of someone else, it will come at the expense of another. And if that person doesn't like that coming from their expense, they don't have that same social conscience.
Right.
They may not like what you're doing and may push back. So we have to have thick skins.
True.
As social workers. helping others, well, it looks so benevolent, sometimes can make us the target.
True.
And
That's
so,
right. That's right.
just to let you all know and appreciate that. And that's why as social workers, be it cross-continental, you know, us between you and I, India and Canada, we have to always be supportive of one another.
That's right. That's absolutely true, sir. Because that is how we can actually raise the voice and how we can start off the social movements and get a social change. Because I mean, that's how it all goes. Because as they say, Rome was not built in a day. So it takes time to bring a social change or to advocate for something and then bringing it into the social policy and then actually implementing it and getting the results out of it. So yeah, obviously I can understand that pretty well. And sir, since sir,
I was
please.
just going to say, I'm conscious of the time. I want to say that I thoroughly enjoyed chatting with everyone. Jagdish, you have led this on behalf of your colleagues. Thank you for that. Thank you for that. And thanks to everyone for permission to record and to post this to my YouTube page or channel, whatever we're calling that. But before we actually close, I'm just curious to hear from people. Was this conversation of value? Did it meet any of your needs?
Yes, sir, this was very helpful. I have a question from you. Like, what does it take one to be a social worker in your country, to enter your country? What does it take if I want to get a job in Canada as a social worker or as a like social worker and like social as a
I'm going to jump in. I'm going to jump in. And part of one jumping in is you were breaking up a little. What I did get from your question is, what does it take to be a social worker in Canada? What may be the requirements here? We have covered that. I am going to post this video to my YouTube channel. I'm also going to post it to my professional Facebook page, Gary Direnfeld, MSW, RSW. So I would suggest that you know, later today or tomorrow, once I've got it posted, go there and listen to it through from the beginning, because I do address those matters. Anyone else? How is, you know, what has this particular experience been like? Was it helpful?
Sorry to interrupt you again. I just wanted to know, do I need some experience in my own country? This is what I actually want to know. Do I need some experience in my own country, like minimum experience, then only I can be a social worker in your country or any like in abroad?
Right.
Or
I am
directly after
Lenovo.
I come.
I am going to jump in
Hey,
again.
Sampika, sorry.
I am
I didn't
going to
add my
jump in.
name.
Yeah, I am going to jump in again, because we're at the end of our time. We're at the end of our time, and I am going to redirect you still back to the earlier part of this conversation once the video is posted online, because I addressed some of that as well. And it's important to know who to actually ask those questions of. And so I talk to who in Canada or where in Canada to go so that you can address your specific questions. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Ambika. Actually,
Thank you so
I
much.
believe you were not you might have disconnected or because of the network issue. So I can myself
Yeah,
tell
actually,
you
my
later on.
connection was poor. Sorry.
No, that's
Okay.
that's okay. I can myself tell you in detail, and also we can check whatever Gary sir has told us. So I can, and even all of us can do some research and then get back to what all it requires to be a social worker from India to Canada. So that's something we can discuss later as well. But now, since other three people are also available, so if they have any sort of questions or queries, please be quick, and because Gary sir is getting late. So
But I do
please.
want to, I am curious still as to your experience. Jaskirat has written, give me 1 second, that it's kind of exciting to know that Canada, being a rich country, still has lack in
Okay,
some
okay.
resources, that is eye-opening. Yeah, maybe we certainly have more resources than other countries. It doesn't mean that everyone's needs are met. And so we are always looking for more as well. But that was a good, yeah, it's so, it's so interesting. It's so wonderful talking with folks from other countries, because we learn about your experience, our experience, and we get to build from that. So, thank you for mentioning your recognition of that difference and not having seen it, not having realized it.
Because we here think of developed countries or the first world countries as definitely rich countries, but then as if they have everything and no one's poor and nobody has gets to live even one day or one night without the roof. So things like that. But let me be very clear, because I also went to Russia last year, and even that is a so-called a developed country, but even there we find poor people or the underprivileged people. So it's a pan world thing, I believe. The dearth of resources that is there in almost every country, no doubt. Sir, please.
I want to mention one last thing before we sign off that you didn't ask me about. And that is recognizing that I am white and you are brown. I want to put race out there because race is experienced differently one country to the next. And I want you to appreciate that here in Canada, we do experience racism. We do experience discrimination on the basis of gender, on the basis of LGBTQ, sexual orientation or gender. We do experience discrimination on the basis of color. And so when one comes from a country that's more homogeneous in their color, and it's different from Canada, it can be shocking to some people. And I'm not saying that Canada is this terrible racist country. Overall, we're not. It is a very generous, a very welcoming country of immigrants. But it is not to say that we're also not without folks who are racist. And so, I want people to recognize that that not everything is perfect here. Not everything is perfect anywhere. There is a very vibrant and strong Indian community in Canada broadly, and then in particular regions. And so, depending on your own comfort, depending on your own sociability, I don't know, you may want to choose. Some people will deliberately look for regions where I call them PLUs, people like us, where there are more people that we can identify with, because we may find a greater comfort in that. With that, you may want to practice a style of social work or practice of social work that's for the general community. You may want to practice social work that is for a specialized population, yet within your community. So I didn't want this conversation to pass without mentioning race or ethnicity or even gender or other factors that may place someone in a minority group where there can be discrimination. That that is an issue here in Canada too. And so just to be knowledgeable of that, but having said that, overall, we are a welcoming country.
Yeah, obviously, sir. Thank you very much for enlightening us about that very aspect. And because of my lack of uh, experience and knowledge, I missed out on that point. But then, thanks to you for adding that. And I believe all these issues that we mentioned throughout this 1 hour plus session, I'm so sorry for that.
All good.
I believe since the major issues were covered by you yourself, uh, and a few you answered, which were queries of my own appetite, and a few other people that I know of. So I believe they were very eye-opening, enriching, and definitely they might help us in the longer run as social workers, or if not, as good human beings and as good global citizens, if I may put it that way, because that is what really is the
Yes.
need of the hour. Because we have to get above the race, social differences, gender, sexuality, and all these things. So yeah, we have to represent ourselves as good and aware and enlightened global citizens. So that is the prime objective of you, I, and everyone over here, or anybody around the world. So I believe all these things were very much helpful. And I'm really, really thankful to you, sir, that you could actually take out such a long time from your extremely busy schedule. I can really understand the kind of commitments that you have. And first of all, thanks to you for bearing us my questions and all the doubts that everybody had, and the plethora of things that were shot at you. So thank you very much. I believe from your 37 years of experience, if I'm not wrong, please correct me. Uh, all the issues and topics that you mentioned have have personally left a very deep imprint on my understanding of social work in your region, or in the North America region. And I believe since it's the starting, as they say, and wherever there is a will, there is a way, be it anything. So I believe God has actually made us all unite through this very beautiful medium, the virtual medium. And I am really grateful to you once again, sir, that you could actually tell us a lot many things from your experience. And I really request you to be a guiding force and be our light, and help us to be the harbingers of change, be it in your country, here, or anywhere around the world. So I am really thankful to you once again, sir. And
My, my,
it's a thank, sir.
my
Sir,
absolute pleasure. I'll share with you the YouTube link for you to distribute as you wish. It'll
definitely,
be
sir.
freely available to everyone so that, you know, folks with similar questions can have access to this video, however it may be helpful to them.
Yeah, thank you. I just want to give a simple message to all of us that are available, that we as social workers definitely will work for the people, but our individual self, we can donate, we can be an organ donor, organ donors. That is something we can actually be helpful with to the to many people, because each of our organ can be helpful to many of the people. So I would really request you to be an organ donor, if at all your conscience allows, because that is how you can save many of the lives, along with being a blood donor. So yeah, I believe that is all for this very morning of yours and evening of ours. So I
Okay,
believe, so
all the best. Thank you.
thank you, sir.
I'm going to
Thank you,
sign
sir.
off and wish you much success in this career.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. And have a great day, sir. Thank you.
Bye now.
Bye-bye, sir.